Hey guys, welcome to the video. Wisdom of the Grandmaster. And I only have one thing to say. I drink beer and I know shit. What's that from? Do you remember?
No.
That was sort of a TV show or a movie or something. Yeah, I drink beer and I know things. I can't remember what it was. Yeah, see, I thought my son was the one who originated that one. He had me snowed on that. I know it wasn't under Sherlock. Today I'm here with Master Phil again, and we are going to talk about the path, as it were. And one of the great mistakes along the path, which is trying to be your teacher. Right?
Agreed.
Is that put properly, do you think?
Yeah, I think, as we were talking about earlier, too many people think that by training under a certain teacher that somehow that makes them the teacher. Or I think same with if we got the spiritual path, and it's the same thing because people, like, you look at Kriya Yoga as an example, and a lot of people want to train under a teacher who has direct lineage. It's about, as we were talking about earlier, it's about following the teachings.
Yeah, actually, you reminded me of something we were talking about. Wanted to learn from somebody under the direct lineage. I can remember before I left Canada, when we were operating at St. Clair College, that what it was about a year, I think. We were
Yeah.
And this woman came in with her kids, and she had enrolled her kids because she really liked what she saw. And I was outside, and she asked me what was going on because we were preparing for a black belt grading that was coming up. And she said, "Oh, would you have somebody from Korea come here to do the grading?" And I looked at her and went, "Why would I do that?" And she says, "Well, you need a real master here." I said, "Dear lady, it was about 30 years back then, of martial arts, I've received my black belt 25 times. Who do I need here?" And she went, "Oh, well, yeah, I guess I can see that."
But I understand her thought also because Dad had a similar thought when he was still alive. I remember, talks we had, and he had the same kind of thought that, it had to be an Asian master to be a master, or like when I was training in Aikido, and he saw someone who was a black belt student who was helping Sensei do a grading. He thought that because that person was older, he should be the one who's a teacher. Meanwhile, he might be older by a little bit, but he was only, at the time, I think, a second degree black belt. And since he was, 6th degree and had more knowledge, understanding, had been doing it longer, so of course he should be the teacher. But that perception that isn't accurate, but based upon the understanding and what they're seeing in mainstream media, right, movies and stuff.
Well, the media, whether it be Hollywood or, and I have no use for Hollywood, guys, and that's not a 2020 and beyond opinion of Hollywood. I've had no use for Hollywood for 30 years, and it's just simply because they put up crap.
Well, on one hand, they've extended an exposure to martial arts for people to be drawn into it, to get off the bums and train. But there's, they put out this perception that isn't true. That they think you're either Superman, which isn't true, or you're super pussy. Which isn't true either.
Something I watched a tiny bit of, which was an interview recently with Jean-Claude Van Damme, where he admitted that he has no real martial arts background. But yet Hollywood certainly pushed that he was, all that. Very talented athlete.
Yeah.
Right? Tremendous control of his body and all of that. I didn't like him as an actor. I didn't find him to be interesting, and Bloodsport, while a decent movie, I think did more harm to the martial arts industry than it did good, especially since it was all fantasy. So,
Oh,
it's okay that it's fantasy, but when they're portraying it as this is the way things happen, and it's not even close to the truth.
yeah, agree.
Yeah.
And I think about like I think that for me watching that when I was like 14 or something like that when it first came out, you know, because of my interest in ninja, and the best part was the beginning where he's doing all that ninja training. You know, that you look at it and it's really pushing the violence and you need to compete, the ego based on that. Good, unless I can defeat you and beat you in a physical conflict. Hey, lady.
Well, that's one of the things that hello, girl.
Hi, lady.
That's one of the things that a lot of martial artists in their early years, and I don't mean that necessarily physical age,
True.
they don't get is that ego-based will only get you hurt eventually.
Yeah, because it's always going to be someone stronger, faster, from better than you.
Well, this is it's a little off topic, but it made me laugh because I was winding down the other night. I was watching some wrestling videos,
Yeah.
and this was one of those things where they're cutting segments from different time periods to show them. And Brock Lesnar, who there's somebody who's watching this, him and I have talked many times about Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar was a big dude, a big, powerful man, is looking up at somebody. Right? And this guy looks like he could eat him. Right? And this is the thing. The ego is what causes all problems. Like today, and we'll get back on topic, I promise. Today, I'm watching videos because I'm studying AI, as you well know.
Yeah.
And you've got the people who say, and I agree with them, that path that AI promises is actually fantastic. And then, of course, you've got the doomsday people who see no good in it whatsoever. AI is bad, AI is good, AI is bad, AI is good. Both statements are incorrect. People are good, people are bad. It's not the AI, it's what people will do with it
Yeah.
that matters. AI is inherently neither good nor bad.
Yeah, well, it's the same, similar with what you just said in terms of gun control or restricting knives and that kind of thing. The gun, the knife isn't the issue. It's the person and their intent, you know. And if governments would actually enforce laws.
Well, I got in some hot water once with comments, a video that I did. I don't know where it is, somewhere. It wasn't a lot of hot water, but got onto the issue of gun violence. And this was after one of their false flags over in the States.
Yeah.
And I said, give me any mall Christmas Eve when it's the busiest as possible, and give me a knife, and I will have more people on the ground dead before you have any clue what happened, and the police can respond than I could ever do with a gun. And the look on these people was like, oh, I never thought of that. No, you never think is the problem.
And that's the thing, you know, because there could be a person 6 feet from me. I could have a knife in my hand. Before they can pull that gun at me, I'm going to cut the throat. I'll be on them. I'll take a 45 and be finished.
Well, I remember very well when Kara Borshak told me about being gutted when she was on patrol, on a call in Detroit.
Detroit, yeah.
And she said the same thing that Hanshi Jutnik has said many times, is I never saw the knife. And all of a sudden, all she could feel was this enormous cold. And she reached down and realized that she had her guts in her hands.
And that's the same truth, is that the knife that cuts you is the one that you don't see.
Exactly. Anyways, on the topic, I have a saying in the topic that I very much like, and that is, seek not to be like the master, but rather to seek what the master sought.
Agreed.
And I've seen in a lot of different martial arts where the students try to emulate the teacher.
Agreed.
And one of the places that I saw it the most, and no offense to the Kempo world, because I think Kempo is awesome, but I saw an awful lot of people trying to be Ed Parker. Ed Parker was a great man. And smart man. Scary smart man. And he I'll get myself in trouble for this, but not with the Kempo people. He was, of course, taught by William Chow. And whenever I say the name of William Chow, even though he was an amazing martial artist, the hair on the back of my neck stands on end because he was such a violent thug of a human being.
Yeah, he was very violent.
No. And yet, Ed Parker never emulated William Chow.
Yeah, and I think that this kind of gets back to something I said in one of the videos I did for the websites there when I was talking about this kind of thing, and I said, you know, it's not about being a teacher, it's about being you, it's about being you better, a better version of yourself. You know, if you look at Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee was someone who's very gifted physically, especially considering that he didn't actually have a lot of time to train, you know. And you look at his students that are wanting to move, to be him, but you can't be him. You're not his I'm thinking he's like 4'9", 5 foot, 120 pounds. They're not him physically. You don't have his natural ability. You don't have his understanding of movement.
I would have been fascinated to know what he would have become had he lived.
But like, you know, it's like me wanting to be you or Master Kurt, Master Scott, or my Aikido teacher. I don't have your physical build, even though you and I are similar, and me, Master Kurt, are most similar. But like my Aikido teacher is a much bigger guy, like Master Scott is. So why would I try to be someone who's physically bigger than me? Then, you know, like Sensei Block has, you know, how many years Aikido plus karate, kung fu, judo background. I don't have that background, right? Like, I have to make it work based upon my body type, my personality, my energy. Not only that, but also, hi dudes, but basing it upon the situation in the moment that's happening in terms of application.
And, you know, like, I think back to my first teacher, Philip Holohan, phenomenal martial artist, talent galore. He was 6'3", 6'4".
Yeah, he was a big guy. Yeah.
Flexible, like I have never seen a male as flexible as him. A woman, yes. A man, no. Just unbelievable. Well past.
I'm thinking about the pain right now.
Well, he could go so far past 180 degrees.
Yeah, I'm thinking about the pain right now.
And mind you, Dillman also got there as well, but I never actually physically watched George do it.
I always think his ads in the martial art magazines.
But he was a very flexible guy too. Gandalf's all excited now. I think they're going to play because we're doing a video. They have to play. But I also realized that as I got through the senior years, that we tend to make gods out of our teachers. And that is such a mistake because it doesn't matter who your teacher is, they do not know everything.
No, exactly.
They can be very well versed on a lot of things.
Yeah, agreed. And I was one of the things, like, I've always been able to see the human side to people, be it you or your son, Sensei Block, or my dad. And that just helped me to respect you guys more.
Well, I mean, you look at it as an example, Aikido, because you come from an Aikido background. Mm-hmm. I know more about this beer company than I do about Aikido. You know, but yet there are many, quite often, students or teachers will emulate the idea that no, I do know all about that, and it's just not healthy.
Yeah, no, it's not. But like going back to what we talked about, that you're not your teacher. You know, O Sensei. He's still my main hero for martial arts, but he never stopped studying. He continued studying, training, and he never stopped. So why would I, who, you know, I haven't lived as long as he has, I haven't trained as long as he has, I haven't reached the level of ability and understanding that he had achieved, why would I stop? Not just that, but like as Hunter Jumping said in his one video that he watched, you don't just want to learn that martial arts style or the view that you want to add to it, right? I think that's something that where too many people, you don't think about that. You think that this is the box of what I've learned, or like whatever the martial arts style is, and I can only perform according to this box, according to the style, according to how my teacher has taught me. And they won't branch out. Like I was training Aikido and fellow senior black belts who would, this is the only way, this is how Sophie did it, this is the only way you can do it. Or, you're training, you on the mat training, and he won't explore the technique, right?
Exactly.
This is how he taught, this is the only way you can do it. I actually had a black belt give me shit when I think I was a brown belt. And him and I were training together. He was someone who was very protocol, kind of focused, disciplined. And I played with the technique a bit when I did it to him, and he gave me shit. That's not like what you were taught, right? So I never did it with him again. But other people like Scott Bonneville, him and that's what he liked doing too. He appreciated that in me, so it was. But to build and to create, like this is it's an art form, expressing yourself, and how if you look at a technique like a fist control is number one from like a shoulder grasp. How do I understand it if I'm not breaking it apart, looking at it, playing with it, seeing how it works, why it works, and seeing how I can make it better, or I shift here, or I move my knee here, or how it changed based upon the ukes movement, push, pull kind of thing.
That makes me think of another misnomer that you see a lot in the martial arts world. Because your teacher can do something.
Doesn't mean you can.
Doesn't mean you can, for sure, but it also doesn't mean it works.
That too. Yeah.
And that's one of the great lies. And I shouldn't call it a lie because I don't think it's on purpose. It's one of the great misconceptions is because Buddy, whoever he is, was successful defending himself under circumstance A, using technique B, doesn't mean it works.
Yeah,
and then they become so bound to this.
Yeah. Because Vicente Black and Master Holohan, they're both big guys, and you mentioned one technique, a couple of that Master Holohan would teach and do that he could actually do because of his physical size, but you could not do, I could not do.
I couldn't do it in a million years.
And then, like you said, each situation that you're going to face is different. So maybe this particular moment it works, but maybe in the case that you're dealing with, the guy's different. He's faster. He has more ability to adapt to what's going on. You're not as fast as he is, or whatever it is, and it's not going to work in that moment. You got to be able to adapt and change that up.
Well, there was one demonstration I helped Holohan with. He was doing a demonstration at a tournament in Kitchener. And we were we had reconnected with Mr. O. And I was getting up there because I was in my mid-30s, and he said to me, I need you to help me with this. And I'm doing a demonstration at the tournament. I'm thinking to myself, wow, you don't do those anymore. So it was basically just a one-step sparring. So from me to you, after he blocked my arm, he wrapped his leg around my head with like a hooking kick where the back of my head was in the crux of his knee and then threw me. No. Could he pull it off on the street? No. But I couldn't do that in a million years. And I wouldn't want to either, to be honest with you. It just looks like it hurt. Now, fortunately, he didn't use me for the demonstration. He used Les, which was far better somebody else getting beat up that way, because that was... You can't break fall under those conditions. So it's like thinking you're going to take a bullet to the head and break falling.
Hook and kick, I always think about just like the leg, the knee. what was good for.
I was actually really good at those. That's probably why my knees don't work anymore. But and the other thing that I had to go through was I realized that around 1997 that I had reached the end of what my teacher knew. And I was the only one in the school who had reached that end because I was the consummate student.
I think for me, it's not quite the same, but for me, the system and what is being taught is geared to get you to your black belt, to second and third degree black belt kind of thing. But there was a focus on getting people there, so learning beyond that, I felt I wasn't learning anymore. And it's not, I think that he definitely knows a lot more, but in terms of what is being taught, because it was a commercial school that he's wanting to make a living, so whereas like when I started training with you and Master Kurt, Master Scott, my thought still is that my Aikido training continued. This looks different.
Mm-hmm. I have to agree with that. Well, he he had lost interest himself, of course, in progressing, but there was just nothing new coming, so I could stay there and teach forever, which I loved teaching.
Yeah.
Or I could go out and learn something. And being that I was always a student first, I couldn't stay and continue to do that. I learned more probably in 2000 and 2001 than I did in 10 years before that.
Well, that's one of the things that he used to talk about is if you want to learn, teach. I know that, but you talk about that in energy healing too. If you want to learn, teach.
And I've had some really amazing teachers. I mean, we've talked at length about Steve Stewart.
Yeah.
I never tried to emulate Steve. I mean, he's my senior. He's got about 10 years on me. As far as, or maybe not quite that much. I can't remember what year he started. But he is unique in every aspect.
And the thing of what you just said is that's a good thing.
Oh, yeah.
We should all be unique. We should all be different.
So always remember to laugh at his jokes. Even if you've heard them 60 times that day. But, and he never tried to emulate Delman.
Yeah.
He never tried to emulate Frank Trejo. And if I got to know Frank Trejo pretty well in the limited time that I had to. And here's another incredible martial artist, fascinating man who was nothing like Ed Parker. There was no resemblance between him and Parker at all. But yet he was, one of Parker's top guys. I think Larry Tatum is closer to being similar to Ed Parker than anybody else is. But Tatum is unique in and of himself as well. Really, really nice guy.
I think the other thing we can kind of touch upon too, sir, while we're talking about this, is also that, your dad might be a martial arts teacher or an energy healer, a spiritual teacher, but that doesn't make you your dad or your mom, and it doesn't make you where they're at. Like I look at Master Kurt, Master Scott too, of course, but being that they're as good as they are, and that they're your sons, is, I find to be, it's not what you normally see. Normally you see the kids, if they have an interest, you might achieve a certain level of ability or training for a certain period of time, but they're nowhere near as good as their mom and dad.
And I can remember Kurt paying me a compliment he thought was an insult once.
This is funny.
When we were out, he was scouting out a location for a dojo. He wanted to show me one, and we stopped the car in this plaza, and he looks at me and goes, I'm better at all this than you are, right? I went, yeah. He says, oh, you know that? I said, yeah, that means I did my job right. And he went, oh, so I kind of hoping you didn't figure that part out, but yeah, no, that is true. I did my job right. He's far better than I am.
But that's not what you normally see, because I think about the one energy healing I studied and found that the creator, really high level healer, high level spiritual teacher, and his children have taken over what he created, but they're not him. They showed interest after he passed away, left body, and he saw money in it. Kind of like Ed Parker Jr., right? He saw money in it after his dad passed away, but not his dad. He's nowhere near as good as his dad. And it's not a bad thing, but like, you know, it's for people to think that by training under him that they're somehow getting his dad. It's not true, right?
I think you could say the same about Thomas Barros Matose too.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, I'm that's a speculation on my part, but that's just what I see.
Because he's more just Kempo, isn't he?
He Kaji Kempo,
Kaji Kempo, yeah.
good martial artist. I mean, no doubt of that.
But
it's not.
Yeah,
It's not his dad by any means.
Yeah, and then to try to make a claim that you're the heir to something that you never studied because you didn't want anything to do with your dad is just bullshit. But
yeah, it's tragic. There's so much of that. You know, and there's a really good example of one of the things that we on the path we're talking about is I can think of one young gentleman. I won't say his name. And I say the term gentleman loosely because he's kind of a douche. Mm-hmm. But his father was a martial arts teacher and a questionable man. Not talent-wise, but a questionable man on ethics. Mm-hmm. And this kid and his old man had some kind of a falling out where, Dad suddenly became tarnished. Mm-hmm. And I see that an awful lot in the real world. The Western culture has been taught to put people up on these pedestals. And then if they do something that perhaps they shouldn't.
They shut out the human.
they show that they're human. All of a sudden now they're being rejected because they show that they're human.
I'm right here. I'm right here.
Hey, Fritzy. I can think of one. I turned down a 7th degree in Kyushu from George. Because he did something that I disagreed with completely. And what it was is meaningless. Mm. But I just, but I didn't view him as any kind of I didn't idolize him in any kind of a way. Yeah, he was as human as everybody else.
Yeah, but that what he did, I don't think diminished your respect for him as a martial arts teacher. You just didn't agree with what.
I had to cut the association because of
this. Yeah.
It was nothing illegal or immoral about it. It just violates my code of conduct. And my code of conduct is my code of conduct. It doesn't have to be anybody else's. When I talked with Steve Stewart about it, he went, "Yeah, I see your point. Yeah, I accept that. I see your point."
Yeah.
He says, "I don't agree with you. It doesn't bother me at all, but I see your point."
So if you look at you and I, so I've been your student for quite a while. So someone might want to say that, if they came and trained with me, direct lineage, but it's not about the lineage, it's about the teaching. Yeah. And even though I've been training under you for a long time, I'm not you.
No.
I don't want to be you, especially, sorry.
I don't want to be me some days either.
I want to be me. I just want to keep being a better version of myself, right? So, like, how do I make my movement better? How do I study better, understand more? What is it that I don't know that I need to look at and study?
So I had a big argument years ago with one of the big ITF honchos in Ontario. And I'm not knocking anything. But I don't like the ITF's idea of cloning their students.
Agreed.
And because they all look the same to me. And that's what they want. Then it must be right for them. But that's one of the things that this gentleman and I, had an argument over.
It's kind of brainwashing, isn't it?
That's the way I see it. I remember at one black belt grading. This was a little embarrassing, even though, remember Zach Burns, eh? And Zach Burns, he was a young student, just a fantastic student. From when he was 4 years old and walked in the door till he was 19 and left for work reasons. He was just a great student.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
And his parents were awesome. And Zach was doing his last grade. He was doing a 4th degree grading, which was the last one that he did. And he was so good at being creative in what he did. Nothing that Zach did looked like anything anybody else ever did. And he could execute a technique flawlessly. But he had his own flair to it. And I can remember giving this speech to him because he was the last one who graded that year, and I'm giving this speech about, that this is great that you look at this. And I said, not like in the ITF where it's a bunch of clones. And I find out that his cousin was there and she was an ITF black belt. And I'm like, oops, sorry, my bad. And what gets down for me within that is the teachers cloning themselves. Is, can you still call it an art? Or are you painting by numbers?
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that bothered me so much about that was that whole thing. Not that you're not going to have people whose movements look similar to each other, especially in the lower ranks. But I've seen, I can remember when I was with Shidoshi Buchan. We went to a workshop up in Toronto, and the workshop was on the date of the black belt grading. Now, that was back in the days when I'd only been around for a short period of time, and the black belts that I was grading were the ones who left my instructor when I left him.
Yeah.
Because there were some that were not going to stay, because I taught them from day one. Because you got to really remember, I was with the guy for 16 years. And so go up there, and I said to Shidoshi, I said, well, I was going to do a black belt grade. He says, well, why don't we do it after the workshop?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm like, yeah, okay, we'll do it after the workshop. So I can remember we're up there, and we're going through the paces, running these guys through the paces, and Shidoshi just sat with me. He's not a Hapkido guy. He didn't have any opinion on it. He was a Kempo guy. But I handed out the gradings afterwards, and he calls me over and says, did you make a mistake? I said, why? He was talking with Steve White. Right? And I said, no, I didn't make a mistake. He's like, this guy's only getting the first degree because I've got a probationary black belt in the system.
Yeah.
Right? This guy's only getting the first degree. He looks like a fourth degree. And it's like, yeah, kind of does, doesn't he? But, that was because everything that Steve did, he adapted to his body style, everything else. And he no more looked like anything I ever did than fly. I haven't talked to him in 8 years now. I gotta have to look him up, see how he's doing, see if he wants to come out to the RMATC next year.
And I enjoy what you just said. It made me think about my energy healing teacher. Her son-in-law, for a living now, he does paintings, but he's totally intuitive when he does his painting, and he has no training to paint. The paintings are beautiful, but it's all natural. It's all intuitive. There's no paint by the numbers, as you mentioned earlier, right? So.
Well, my beer's getting low, so we should probably call it a day. But I have to tell a story. I just have to, because I thought of it as I was looking at my beer can. It was one day I was in the old city in Brasov, and I ran into a guy that I knew, a guy from the United States. Nice guy. And he said, what are you doing down here? I said, I'm going to go grab a beer. And he's going, oh. Okay, well, can I join you? Yeah, sure. So we went over to Dean's. We were sitting outside having a beer. And actually I was having a Guinness, which Guinness is my favorite beer. And then after that, it's all the Romanian beers. The Canadian beers, they used to be great. But they're toilet water now. Okay? And there's a reason for that. They used to be good, they're not anymore. Okay? I had said to him, and I didn't mean to sound so terrible when I said it, I told him, excuse me a second, I gotta go in the bathroom and make some American beer. And so the poor guy to no end. He was furious with me. He's going, European beer sucks and all this type of stuff. You're not a beer drinker, are you? Because if you're a beer drinker, you wouldn't be saying that. You're just somebody who consumes beer. You're not a connoisseur of beer. Now, I will qualify. What happened to Canadian beer was American companies bought into it and they changed the recipes. As per usual, if something expands, it gets gets worse, right? It's kind of like the quality of Chrysler products when it stopped being Chrysler and started being Daimler Chrysler. Everything went down the toilet. And I don't know about when now that Fiat owns it, if it's any good or not, but when Daimler had it, we were sad because I was working there. We were sort of making some crap. Sorry, Chris, if you're watching. One of my old bosses, but I don't think he's watching. Anyways, guys, thanks for sticking around as we just kind of ramble on, have a beer, and have some fun. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and we'll see you in the next episode. I guess these are episodes. I never thought of that. Wow. Have a good one, guys. Ciao.